Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tariq Taman, and I'm the General Manager of O3 AI, a smart factory platform. Today, we're going to have a webinar or conversation around Beyond SIRI is the topic. As many of you know, SIRI actually stands for Smart Industry Readiness Index. It is a model in which manufacturers around the world, governments and associations around the world have chosen to help companies understand and measure their digital value chain and where they're at in digital transformation in general. As many of you know, Industry 4.0 is a requirement for most companies. Over the next few years, if you don't achieve Industry 4.0 capabilities, you'll have a harder time being competitive. In fact, those early adopters of digital transformation are growing twice as fast as the laggards. Those early adopters of digital transformations are improving profitability twice as fast as the laggards. And so today we've got some excellent experts from us on the call itself. We have Nasser Hanif, who will be the first to speak. Hello, Nasser, how do you do?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing quite well, thank you.
Thank you.
Nasser has a long history of an operator and in operations and manufacturing of digital transformations for manufacturers around different parts, different regions, as well as he's a certified SIRI assessor. So we're looking forward to your comments in a moment, Nasser, and thanks for being here. Miguel Nevesh, in fact. Hi, Miguel, how do you do?
Hi there. I won't hold you to my name. I know it's hard to pronounce.
My
Nice to
apologies.
meet you, everyone in the audience.
Excellent. So Miguel is a senior manager or a partner with KPMG, one of the global leading systems integrator, and has a large practice in supply chain, heavy industry, and manufacturing. So today, Miguel will walk us through how do corporations prepare for transformations, how do they justify the transformations, and what they can expect for the outcome at the end of a digital transformation. Actually, there's no end. It's a continuous improvement model. That's one of the values that Miguel will share with us. Thirdly, our third speaker is Fouad Tomert. And Fouad, welcome, Fouad. How do you do?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you, Tariq.
Good
morning, everyone.
So Fouad has many years, a couple decades of more of helping run and being GM and plant managers, as well as lean operational excellence, Six Sigma, and all the things that are best in class when it comes to running a factory and helping other companies go through that. In fact, he spent his formative years with Toyota, and many of you know that Toyota really invented the concept of lean or operational excellence, continuous improvement. And he'll be talking about what is digital transformation, the blueprint to the future, as well as what requirements an organization should look at when they're looking for the right technologies, especially on the shop floor, where most manufacturers have always felt there is a void, almost a black hole in understanding what's exactly going on, at least from a real-time perspective. So with that said, I'm going to ask Nasser the first question. So in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in the region of the Middle East, and on a global basis, SIRI has become the standard that most manufacturers, as we talked about earlier, are going through an assessment process of some sort. How does a company start that assessment process and make sure that the assessment doesn't just become a report that they put in the drawer and then they don't know what to do next? So if you could tell us a little bit about what SIRI is, number one, and then number two, what to do when you're going through that assessment so it becomes useful the basis of a blueprint for the future.
Thank you, Tariq, for your question. It's a very good question. And I would say before we move on to the SIRI assessment, there is one thing which I want to talk about is the LEAD framework. And this framework is being used worldwide for any transformation. For example, if you're doing transformation for operational excellence, if you're doing transformation for any organization, if you're doing transformation in terms of digital, you have to follow this framework, which is very useful. And it's called LEAD framework. And it has four different elements. One is the learning, evaluating, architect, and deliver. And it's a four-stage process. And starting with the learning part, the first part is the where you have to start learning. So if you are an organization, your leadership has to start learning about new industrial technologies. They have to learn about what is happening in the world, how things are going in the world regarding the industry 4.0. And on the basis of that, they can judge and they can provide the ROI. They can propose the ROI. They can think about what would be the return out of it. They can think about what will be the purpose of it. And they will not be doing a series just because the digital transformation, just because they have to do, because everyone else is doing. They will do with a purpose if they start learning about it. And the second part is the evaluation part. And this part is where the series comes, that it evaluates what your current digital maturity is. For example, when we do the operational excellence, one of the major things which we talk about is that if you can't measure it, you cannot improve it, right? And that's where the digital transformation works, that if you can't measure where your current maturity levels are, you cannot improve that. And this is where Siri comes, that it measures where you stand in terms of process, where you stand in terms of technology, and where you stand in terms of organization. Why these three blocks? Because, whenever we talk about it, we industry 4.0, we talk about technology, we talk about AI, we talk about machine learning. But the main, if you have a good technology, but if your organization is not equipped, if your workforce is not learned, there is learning and your learning and development is not good in your organization, it's a very high chance that your technology will fail. If your processes are not integrated, for example, and if your processes are not integrated, it's a very high chance that there will be no ROI because your technology will be standalone. So in that case, it's very important that you have a judgment, you judge, you do the assessment, and you have the score of all the three elements: process, technology, and organization. So this is where Siri is a comprehensive tool for assessment. It does, and every building block has different dimensions. For example, if we talk about the operation, there is a dimension vertical integration. In the technology as well, there are 9 dimensions. In the organization, there are 4 dimensions. So in all together, there are 16 dimensions. And against each dimension, you have a banding score 0 to 4, 5. So where you currently stands, it gives you the idea of that. So this is how the Siri does that. It gives you a score out of these dimensions, and then it gives you a result out of it. That this is where the Siri comes. And the third part is where we have to do the architect. So we talk about lead framework, in which first was the learning part, second was the evaluation part, which Siri comes, right? The third part is a very important part, which is the architect part. This is where all the planning occurs. So, for example, if you have a Siri score of 2, so there are two objectives. You have to increase the score. That's the first objective of your organization. Secondly, you have to assess what are the best things you can do to improve your profitability, right? Because digital transformation alone is not possible if you don't have a profitability, because you have to manage your board members as well. You have to talk with your board members and management about the profitability. You cannot improve if you do not have an improvement plan of your profitability and efficiency. There's a very high chances that you will not be allowed to do digital transformation, right? So these are the two parts in architect, where you actually make a plan how to improve the series score. And the second part is how you will improve the profitability on the basis of transformation. And this is very important part, in which you do you check the IT infrastructure, what kind of infrastructure you have of IT, your OT infrastructure, what kind of machines you have, what are the machine parameters which need to be connected, what kind of machines need to be connected. For example, if you have 150 machines, sometimes it happens that only 50 machines are important for you, which provides you more efficiency. If your efficiency increase in these 50 machines, you will get more profitability. So this is where the major part comes, where you have to involve some digital solutions provider who can make a complete roadmap for you on the basis of the SIRI assessment and the assessment they do, in-depth assessment. And the last part is the delivery part where you deliver actually. So when you have a learning part and evaluation part and the architect part, now you have to deliver that. This is where the digital solutions provider deliver the solution. Usually we call it MOM solutions, manufacturing operations management. Fuad will explain about it later on what are the MOM solutions, how are the MOM solution different from other MES solutions. He will talk about that in the later end. So this is where the delivery part comes. So I think I answered your question that how we can use the SIRI assessment for overall digital transformation. And this is what the brief summary of that. If you have any other questions, please free to ask that.
That's very helpful. Thank you so much, Nasser. So on the last part, to the delivery aspect associated with it. So if I'm a manufacturer and I am looking to go through an assessment process, should I expect from my assessor not just the maturity level, but the blueprint for delivery? Or do I need to choose a technology partner and they're going to do the blueprint? Or should I go to a global systems integrator like KPMG? Where do I get the blueprint from?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is one of the most important thing is the constant. That everything which you are doing in digital transformation need to be constant. And for example, if I just give you an example, that two SIRI assessors cannot be the same. So if one of the SIRI assessor is doing the SIRI assessment for you, might be he give you a 2 score, and same organization, another SIRI assessor will give 2.5, for example. So what happens is that when you have different people for different kind of journey, for example, if you have SIRI assessor is different, your transformation company is different, and your solution provider is different. What happens is that you do not have a it's a mismatch most of the times. So it's usually preferable if you have a team which is doing the SIRI assessment on the first side before the transformation. The same people are doing the SIRI assessment after the transformation, so that they can see what is the difference between before and after that. Secondly, when we talk about architect and delivery, it's a very high it's very helpful to have a journey together when you have an architect and the delivery part. So same organization partnering with some consultant company, we can have a same architect and roadmap according to that. So that when you have an architect, a plan for that, you have to consider what the solutions need to be provided, right? So if solution provider doesn't know what architect is, it's a very difference of opinion over there. So they both have to be aligned, that if someone is doing the architect, it's aligned with the deliverable solutions with that.
Very good. Thank you, Nasser. I'm just a plug for ourselves here. We're happy to say that most of our customers who have implemented our Smart Factory platform have a SIRI assessment grade of 4.0 or better. I think our best was something on the order of 4.75. And so Industry 4.0 is here today, or can be, with the right technology elements. And so maybe I can move to you, Miguel. So you've helped many customers embark on this Industry 4.0/5.0 journey. How do you help them justify the investment in regard to starting this journey? What can they expect afterwards? And what is kind of a best case scenario for an organization as an outcome?
So maybe I'll take a step back and thank you for asking that. Maybe I would like to start by explaining how do you make a successful digital transformation, and the answer is you need to start by a roadmap. So you need to have a clear vision of where you want to get. And to make this successful, you have to start by aligning with the major stakeholders on the organization. So you need to have clear sponsorship from the board. So they will set your priorities. You cannot transform the organization as a whole. You cannot do everything. You cannot apply transformation to all blocks of your organization. So first you need to have a clear alignment with the board to see what you want to accomplish. And as you start to roll out your transformation, you'll need this level of sponsorship as well to ensure that your strategy is executed without any roadblocks. There's a second very important topic, which I think Nasser touched slightly in the previous questions, which is understanding what is the technology landscape. So what is the technology that you have available? Because as you start to implement the strategy, you need to understand what's your starting point. Do you have, for instance, access to cloud resources, or do your machines allow you to apply the transformation, the analytics that is required to get the outcomes? And these questions you need to have this assessment in place. Otherwise, you'll not have the pre-requirements to execute on the strategy defined before. And then as a last pillar, you have the change management. This is such an important pillar. Having people in the center of your transformation is such an important pillar that it even became a main focus of moving from Industry 4.0 to Industry 5.0. And one of the aspects that I see failing in the organizations is defining transformation without considering people, and then having it fail because it's not because the initiative is not utilized, it's not rolled out successfully, because you haven't chosen champions that will carry the initiative forward. Maybe as a last invisible aspect to all of this, or maybe the secret sauce to a successful transformation, would be the agile mindset. And this is an expression that is very commonly used recently. But what does it really mean? It means that it will be impossible for you to predict every outcome that will happen, and every scenario that will happen, and you'll have to adjust multiple times as you execute your strategy, because you'll figure out that not everything that you defined at the start is important or is executable. And that's why it's also so important to have the vision clear from the start. Because if you know what is your end goals, either it is optimization of cost or improving quality or any other objective, you know where you want to get. So it's easy for you to adapt the roadmap and the initiatives as you start rolling it out. And it's a lot more easier if you have this mindset, because it means even if you fail fast, you'll recover even faster, you'll adjust, and you'll be able to be successful in the transformation.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Miguel. I appreciate that. A couple questions as a follow-up. And so it sounds like from what you just said, you need a top-down commitment from chairman, CEO, board in order to ensure that this transformation has the right outcome. It also sounds like you have to have the right people in place willing to change and embrace that cultural transformation, which is just as important, or the second leg of that stool. And then finally, the last one you mentioned, you got to have the right technology components, partnerships, and put them all together to accomplish those goals. For many years, the last few decades, global consulting firms have always advised, or often advised, customers that pyramid of people, process, and technology is how the foundation for change and transformation. And historically, the recommendation has been get the right people and the process in place, and the technology doesn't necessarily matter as much. With the advent of AI, with the advent of cloud, with systems that are intuitive and have a consumer-grade user experience, even a co-pilot model in which every process stakeholder can have an avatar, tell them what their next best actions, or the next three best actions are for the next thing that they should do. How has that how has your recommendations or have your recommendations changes? Is technology, getting the right technology layers and partners as important as the people and the process? Or is it still largely about the people and process and you can make any technology work?
I don't think it has changed over the years. Technology has always been seen in two different angles. There's always an angle where people see technology as a threat. So is technology coming to replace jobs? And there's always a vision where we see technology as a means to improve. I mean, I'm just thinking about this, but 200 years ago, people were getting sick in cotton factories, and technology in the industrial revolution at the time was seen as a threat to jobs. In reality, nobody wants to go back to cotton factories and lose their life over lung disease, right? And the transformation that we are seeing today is just an extension to that. So technology is not replacing people, it is augmenting the way people work. And even if you look at the most recent or most widely used piece of technology or more marketed piece of technology that you have nowadays, ChatGPT, it's another example of that. When ChatGPT came maybe 2 or 3 years ago, people thought, okay, now every content production job is going to be over. We don't need people anymore to write anything or to come up with answers. The reality is, if you use ChatGPT nowadays to write any piece of content or to produce anything, it's unmistakable. You can see it. Like when my young consultants use ChatGPT to produce something to me, I say to them, you need to go back because this is, I know you didn't write this, right? So now I don't disincentivize them to use it. I just tell them use it in a smart way, and they've become more productive. They stop doing the things they don't want to be doing. They accelerated research, but in the end, you still need consultants. The same way you still need people in the shop floor of the factory, because there's a secret. I'm going to use this expression again. There's a secret sauce. There's a secret element. There's aspects of the business that you cannot remove from the equation, and this is only known by the people that they are actually performing the work. So again, the whole purpose of Industry 5.0 is to put people again in the center, because we cannot replace them, but we can augment them.
That's great. Thank you so much, Miguel. Quick note for everybody, you're welcome to, in the chat, ask any questions. Our panel of experts, after a few moments when Fouad is done, we'll be glad to answer them. Before we move on to Fouad, Miguel, I probably should have asked you this up front, but can you give us a little bit of background of who KPMG is and the practice that you lead in industry and manufacturing?
So KPMG globally is started by being an audit company. We quickly used that, or in the recent decades, we used that to move into the consulting business. Today, we are one of the biggest consulting firms in the world. And more recently, in the 80s, 90s, we start moving into digital. In Saudi Arabia, I lead a practice of low-code and automation, which is solving people's problems and business problems using technology and using software to improve either automation or the digital aspect of the business.
Wonderful. We appreciate our partnership with KPMG, and we look forward to doing good work together and helping companies go through this transformation. So Fouad, I'm going to start by these transformations. Fouad, I'm going to start by asking you to kind of follow up on Miguel's comments around people, process, and technology. So when it comes to smart factory software, is it possible or is to support the people in the process from the solution itself? Or maybe let me ask it another question. How is the people, or how are the people in process supported by the right technology on the factory floor?
First of all, when we talk about digital transformation, people, they always consider the technology, they always consider the systems. However, like Miguel emphasized, people are one of the critical elements that you have when you drive a digital transformation. Why? Because you need to have a quick change management, otherwise it will be a killer. Uh, this is why you need a system that can enable people with the right UI UX, a system that can enable people with the right user experience in order to drive the change smoothly, and by having the right culture in terms of lean, like you mentioned, Tarek, having like a co-pilot of lean, having this in place with the system that you are implementing will really help people to get to the value, to generate the value quickly, and get into, let's say, this transformation in a fast way.
Well, wonderful. So every manufacturer is on some journey of lean and continuous improvement, and that's the only way for them to stay competitive. The four cornerstones of lean are on the slide that we have in front of us. I'll ask you to explain what they are and what's the difference between implementing these cornerstones on paper, analog, and digitally with a smart factory platform.
Yeah. Actually, while doing the digital transformation based on the outcome of SIRI, first we need to understand that SIRI is not the end of the story, because it focuses more on the gap related to the systems that you need to have in place, to the technology. However, you have another aspect, which is the requirements and the challenges, the gaps that you have in business. For this, you need to apply the 4M approach, or you extend it to 5M, 6M, considering measurement, mother nature, and other M's. But here is a summary. And as you can see, it is not only machine, because again, we think always about IoT, but IoT is just an enabler. It's not only about connecting machines, but you need to consider again the factors related to men, for example. You need to have the right skills. You need to measure what is related to the labor, like the FTE, the full-time equivalent. For optimization, you need to consider the skill matrix in that system. So the system that you are selecting should also cover the gaps related to men. In the other hand, you have method. So you need to have a system that is enabling people with the right procedures, the right practices. For example, embedding the lean processes inside the lean tools, the statistical process control as Six Sigma analysis. So this will drive really the change in a fast way, because it is an enabler for people in place. And then you look at the machines, retrieving the machines from retrieving the data from machines and from systems in order to create one single point of truth, of a database that is enabling the decision-making process. And you need to look at the material as well. So considering all these gaps should be the starting point for selecting the right system for this digital transformation. In addition to that, we need to consider the end-to-end footprint of manufacturing. So if you look at the modern system, we talk about MOM, which is manufacturing operations management, rather than a manufacturing execution system. So what you see here, the blue area, is the gap in the shop floor where the enterprise systems are not reaching. So you need to close these gaps, you need to fulfill these gaps. And by doing this, and as you can see, an MOM, a modern MOM, is not only about measuring the quality level or handling the production, but it is also handling meetings, getting the KPIs, the cost, the action plans, creating the PDCA cycle in place in order to ensure the sustainability. So all this is very important. And by doing this and by filling this gap, you will create the foundation for the end-to-end traceability, which is very critical for certain industries like pharma, like food, like dairy. So you create an end-to-end traceability with that system based on the GS1 standards. And by the way, whoever wants to have an idea about traceability based on GS1 standards, he can download our white paper called Beyond Basic Traceability. You can find it on our website. So in order to fulfill this gap, you need to have a combination of the next generation MES combined with the lean copilot, and you have also the third part, which is the AI analytics. So you should be able to provide to people the MES features and a lean copilot for the best practice to generate the value and to have tools in order to impact the productivity, the customer experience, the quality. And in addition to that, we need to know that we are already into the industry 5.0. So you need to have a scalable system in place that will take you or shift you in a smooth way and in a fast way to the industry 5.0 by embracing the new trend of AI, which is the generative AI in general, the large language model, having, like what you mentioned, Tarek, avatars, talking to people and guiding people for the next best action. So this is how you can create the right end-to-end footprint using a manufacturing operations management system rather than manufacturing execution system.
Thank you. That was an excellent answer. Just a follow-up question on that, Fouad. Industry 5.0 is sometimes called the autonomous enterprise, which is how do you take the entire value chain from farm to fork, from sheep to shelf, and not just have that value chain be well organized and well orchestrated, but to be completely digital and smart. Every handshake in that process in the life cycle needs to not have anything on paper, not anything on analog. Are you saying that the parts in the blue here can be completely digital and smart? And if so, how does that work with the rest of the enterprise? Companies have spent a lot of time and a lot of money on ERP systems, on logistics systems, transportation systems. Where does that information go on the shop floor? And then outbound, how is that information used in this journey to Industry 4.5 or 5.0 and the goal of getting to a smart autonomous enterprise?
Thank you for the question, because it's a complementary point for all what I said. So your system should have the capability to coexist with the legacy systems that you have in place. You cannot come in one day and say, okay, I will throw all what I have and put a new system in place. No. You need to have it in a smooth way. So you need to have a system that can have the capability to integrate through APIs. So you need to provide a batch of APIs or consume APIs from other systems, and have the capability also to connect with machines. In addition to that, again, we emphasized a lot about the importance of people. We all know that they are the best asset in any organization. So we need to capitalize on their experience. So having a system with the right UI UX will connect also people to the system. So imagine that you have data from machines, you have data from other systems flowing into your system, and having also the input of people. So the experience and the expertise of people is going into the system. So you are creating a huge data and information for the machine learning that you can use to optimize. And as you can see in this slide, starting from get organized, get connected, get insight, you will move to the get optimized, where you can use the industry 5.0 to have a tremendous outcome in terms of generated value. I hope that I answered your question.
Very good, very good. Before we, one last question for you before we open it up for attendees is, you talked a lot about connecting to machines. How does connecting to a machine or understanding a PLC tag help you in driving, push button traceability or maintenance activities or automate lean? Why is it so important to connect?
Yeah, it is very important to connect because here you have the first aspect is the visibility. Creating a real-time visibility will make the difference. So having the machines connected will create real-time visibility. In addition to that, you will increase the accuracy of data. So if you put in place a decision-making relying on data, so driven by the data, you need to have accurate figures so as you can enable the decision making process. And connecting to machines, you will start seeing unseen events or issues in your shop floor. So you will start discovering the reality. And by having all the losses measured, you can start impacting your productivity by all the actions that you have. So you can use the lean, you can use the AI tools to do further analysis with anomalies detection, with all the AI tools, and then people can do also the root cause analysis and start implementing the actions that will definitely impact the productivity, the quality, the customer experience, and all the business aspects.
That's excellent. Thank you. It sounds like what you're saying is to get to digital transformation, you not only have to have a robust smart factory platform that orchestrates all the processes, but it must be lean. Without lean, the guarantee of return on investment is not there. And so with that said, it's time to turn to questions from the chat box. Omer, are you reading those questions out to us? Is that how it works?
There is one question from what are the current global applications on Industry 5.0 available in the market? There's a question from the audience. If Miguel or Fuad, if you want to answer this question.
Can you come again?
There's a question, what are the current global applications on Industry 5.0 available in the market?
First of all, we need to understand what is 5.0, and without giving, let's say, names, you can find the solutions. The Industry 5.0 is using AI to create what we call copilots and create the autonomous enterprise. Autonomous enterprise means closing the loop through AI. So first of all, in order to achieve this, you need to go through the Industry 4.0 and all what we described as the requirement in terms of systems, like the next generation MOM. It should lay a foundation to collect all the data that can be used to take the full benefit of the generative AI. Today, we have a great achievement in terms of AI. You have algorithm, and they are becoming a commodity. You don't need any more data scientists to use that. You need just to connect with your APIs and connect your data as an input, and then you can start seeing an outcome. So this is the first condition. Now, what are the systems that will take you to this level? Whatever system you can find in when you evaluate, the system is generating. You should make sure that the system is generating data from machines, data from all the assets, machines, people, legacy systems that you have in place. Your processes are included there. So if you have any system that is collecting all this huge data, it will lay the foundation for you to join the Industry 5.0, which is using the full benefit of generative AI. I'm saying and underlining the full benefit of generative AI, because you can use it, but you cannot get the full benefit if you don't combine relational data with the time series data that you are collecting from machines. So without mentioning applications, this is the requirement. So any system which is fulfilling these requirements can easily take you to the Industry 5.0.
Yeah, a quick comment on that from my end. In general, manufacturers and industry are looking to a next generation of born in the cloud AI-based platforms, as opposed to legacy systems that are 20, 30 years old and built on previous technologies. And so on that topic, though, Miguel, let me ask you, artificial intelligence, generative AI. In general, businesses are seeking to adopt AI as fast as possible, and they're worried about being behind the curve. Can you tell me where the average company is in industry? Are they early stages in AI because this is all relatively recent? Have they made huge impacts and changed the way they work? Where are your customers in the adoption of our artificial intelligence?
It's a really relevant question to ask, specifically here in the kingdom, because what I see in the kingdom is that we are in the beginning of the journey. There's a big dependency on bringing digital, specifically on the machine learnings and AI cases from the cloud, because most of these cases require huge computational power that was not available until recently in the kingdom. And you had all the regulation around sharing data, sharing the type of data that could be shared outside the kingdom. Now, the reality is, with the advent of Alibaba, and more specifically now with Google, that moved earlier last year into the kingdom and is making its services available, and with Microsoft predicting to move very soon, this is going to drive this transformation. So I think right now is the time for companies to start investing in this technology, start making their roadmaps and plans, because as the technology becomes available, they will be early adopters in here and start to encompass the transformation that has already started in the rest of the world.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miguel. Omer, if you're okay, can we put Miguel's contact information in the chat for anyone that needs to or wants to get a hold of him? Nasser, I understand there's another question or two that from the attendees that could you ask and maybe answer if it's in your domain?
Yeah, there's a question over here, is that does Siri support the evaluation of the financial benefits of a digital transformation in order to justify the business case? That's a good question over here, and they're talking about that if Siri does the evaluation of ROI or profitability, right? This is what I said in the beginning, that there's a framework which is lead framework, and evaluation is where the Siri comes, but it just evaluates your digital maturity. It doesn't evaluate the financial benefits. It doesn't evaluate the justification of the business case. And this is where the third part comes, where is the architect part, where you have to make a plan. And in order to improve Siri score and the profitability of the business, you have to make a plan for that. This is where the digital solution provider, digital solution consultant, they give they give the basis that how you can improve your financial benefits in terms of digital transformation. That okay, you have these kind of machines. For example, sometimes if you talk about Siri, it gives you 4 priority dimensions only. So out of 16 dimensions, it provides you that what are the 4 dimensions you have to focus on. And out of those 4 dimensions, for example, there is one dimension which is shop floor connectivity. So now if there is a dimension, shop floor connectivity, and you have to improve that, How you will improve that until and unless you have a plan for that, and you have to understand what kind of machines you have. For example, you have level 1 machine, level 2 machine, or level 3 machine. Level 1 machines are those machines which can be easily connectable through Ethernet cables. Level 2 machines are those machines which require some modification or connectors to connect that. Level 3 machines are those machines which require sensor installation, for example. So Siri doesn't provide these type of details. Siri just provides you that your shop floor connectivity is not good. But in order to have an assessment that how it will improve or how it will be connected and what kind of benefits you will get out of it, you require some digital solution provider or consultant who can guide you that what should be the plan for you, what should be the business case for you, and this is the amount of return you will get out of these things. And Siri just gives you the dimensions, that these are dimensions you have to focus on. Secondly, it gives you that, for example, if you are a food and beverage company, your Siri benchmark will be different than the Siri benchmark of semiconductor industry, because semiconductor industry is very precise. So their Siri score should be very high as compared to food and beverage company. So this is only the details Siri provide you, that what kind of digital maturity you have. But in order to improve the and make a business case, you need a consultant and a digital solution provider who will architect your plan, and on the basis of architect, they will deliver as well. So this is where the Siri has a, you can say, just evaluation part. It just evaluate where you currently stand in terms of maturity. And once you deliver the solution, after that also you can do the Siri assessment to see what kind of results you have got after the digital transformation. It was 2 before, for example, now you are 3, but it will never give you what kind of financial benefits you are getting out of it.
Excellent. I think I appreciate that, Nasser. I think I just saw a question as well in regard to what's the role of AI in connecting ERP for finance with the shop floor? In other words, how do you understand the improvement in manufacturing, the profitability? Can I get to a point where I know how much it costs me to produce this bottle versus that bottle of water? If I understood the question right, that's, I think, what the attendee was asking.
Yeah. Uh, this is a very important question, because actually all what we do, we need to keep in mind that we're working for a profitability. We're working for a top line and a bottom line. Everything in the shop floor should be measured financially. So the MOM system should be able to provide features like setting up a cost dictionary using the finance ledger that you have in your ERP. So the same, you connect it or you integrate it with the MOM system in order to use the cost center. So all what you are connecting. And now, what is the added value that you will have from the MOM? For example, today we all know that we have a monthly financial review where the month a month closing, we call it a month closing. But if you have the right MOM in place, you can start having a real time financial closing for certain aspects. For example, if you have material consumption, the material consumption is continuous actually while you are producing. If you take this material consumption with the with the integration that you have with the cost centers or the prices that you have in ERP, you will be able to evaluate your consumption in terms of cost on time. I mean, on real time. Considering the output, then you will be able to measure how much you are spending per unit, per bottle or per pack or whatever, per pallet in place. So the benchmark here will be your budget. So you budgeted to have a certain top line driven by the volume and the bottom line driven by the cost. In the middle, you have your profitability. So you will move from the traditional system looking at the budget management, and you will introduce a new concept, which is the profitability control. Now, AI will be there as a co-pilot, having all this input. And again, I go back to what I said, that the right system laying a foundation to use the generative AI. So you can start building models according to according to your industry, where AI can help you as a co-pilot or as a cobot, as a chatbot or avatar interacting with people. Watch out, your consumption is going high, your unit or your product will be with a higher price. So you know that from now, before you finish your production, you know that you are running out of your budget, and your profitability will be affected. So the actionability that you can create with these models will impact a lot the profitability. So just keep in mind that having these features in the manufacturing operations management will really change it will create completely a new business model. And this is one of the aims when you do a digital transformation. So I hope that I answered the question.
Very helpful. And I'm assuming that all of that AI will help you in real-time scheduling and rescheduling and sequencing to make sure you're utilizing your assets and machinery most effectively. Nasser, if are there any more questions from the attendees? Otherwise, I have one more for Miguel
Yeah, you can ask a question. There are two questions. I think we can answer them separately through the email as well, or we can have if you want to ask it, you can ask. They are related to Siri.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and ask those questions? I think the attendees deserve first right.
There is a first question. How does the SIRI framework for small and big companies differ? For example, for organization dimensions, for example, given the limited resources and employees, also gives how subjective the assessment, as you explained earlier, right? So what he's trying to ask is that there are big organization, there are small organization. And in small organization, most of the time, what happens is that your HR, finance, and for example, IT is one person responsible for that, and the plant manager is there and an owner is there, and there are few employees over there and few managers over there. So how does it differ from the SIRI? How does the SIRI differ in these two organizations? There is no difference such, because it's an assessment based on the overall organization. But if you have, let's say, if you don't have learning and development in your organization, because since you have only few employees or few managers over there, so obviously your score will be low in that case. So what it can do is that if you have a small organization, your benchmark will be against a small organization. So if, for example, there is a big organization, that benchmark should be SIRI score of 3. And if you are a small organization, your benchmark will be 1.5, for example. So you will be compared according to your organization level as well. So that if if your score is 1, your benchmark score will be 1.5, so that you can improve that score by 0.5%, for example. So this is how it differs, but it's more of a subjective because it depends on the person who's doing the SIRI assessment. And it is in their subjectivity that when he assess the floor, it decide on that basis what he has to do and what kind of changes he can do. So on the basis of the organization, we during the assessment, we don't mention, or we don't see that how many people are there or how many managers are there. We see how they are using the resources they have already. For example, if IT manager and HR manager are same, it doesn't matter. If they both are doing a good job in providing a learning and development, and if they are having a good IT infrastructure, then obviously the score will be according to that. It doesn't matter if that 2% has the same role or 3% have the same role. If the limited resources, you are managing the complete factory in a good way, and your organization has a good learning and development plan for that, obviously it can be according to that situation. Series score is provided. It doesn't matter the big and small, it doesn't differentiate in that case. I think I answered the question if clearly in that case.
I think so. So we have the last few minutes. I'm going to turn it back over to Miguel. In fact, I'm going to ask you two questions. Number one is, when do manufacturers have to get started? Can they wait a year or 2 or 3, before they get going? And in the meantime, how should they use firms like yours, to get going?
So really fast, because I think there are still some questions from the public. The first answer is, I'll ask you with another answer, which how fast can you wait to lose your business? So if you want to stay, keep up with the game, you should start now. And you can use organizations such as KPMG to help you on board in that digital transformation and that digital journey, and to help you define the steps to bring the transformation to the organization.
That's great. Thank you very much. And should we move Nasser to any other questions? Otherwise, I'll wrap up and we can let people have 6 minutes left.
There is one more question related to SIRI if you want to, if you
Please,
have
this is the topic, beyond SIRI, right? Which I'll give you, I'll wrap up and then leave it to you to answer that last question. So beyond SIRI really means, especially what Nasser said, that it's subjective. You're not going to get any two assessments in SIRI will be quite different. And so the takeaway I get from our experts on this panel is you have to make sure that SIRI is just step one of a blueprinting and road mapping exercise, and having a report that's somewhat subjective in and of itself isn't particularly helpful. And so it's about the journey. And as Miguel just said, if you want to survive and thrive in the future, you got to get started sometime in the next short while. So Nasser, I'll ask you to answer that last questions and then to wrap up the webinar itself.
Thank you. There's a question. If I am a SME factory, can a SIRI assessment can be conducted virtually? Normally, when we have to do a SIRI assessment, we have to go to the factory and we have to do certain round of the floor to decide what kind of machines you have and what are the connectivity levels and all the integration level. So it's mostly that we go to the floor and we do the assessment on the basis of the machine, but not virtually, physically we have to do. So but virtually sometimes it can be done if let's suppose you are doing a SIRI assessment from a far off country, and it can be done for small companies, and if they ask you to provide all the details and you're providing those details, on the basis of that SIRI assessment can be done. But mostly it's preferable that you are on the shop floor physically to do the complete assessment, so that it's very genuine and it's being you can understand properly what is going on in the organization, what kind of factory they have, what kind of machines are connected, how they are connected. And it's very it's like a physical view that you can see everything. So mostly it's preferable that we are doing the SIRI assessment by physical going to the factory.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So I want to thank each of you for your expertise and your time today. I know with decades of experience amongst you, this is helpful for all of the attendees, and I especially want to thank the attendees. It's our goal as a technology firm and as a consulting firm to work hard to try and be trusted advisors, not sell our own solutions, but part of that, of course, is taking the context of what we know and what we do and sharing that with you as an industry at large. So once again, thank you. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, Fouad. Thank you, Nasser. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you so much. Bye.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much.
Thank you, everyone.